And what are the potential rituals that you can do in your daily life? I think the most powerful part of this talk will be, what you can do it on a day-to-day basis. And then how does it has impact on sleep? Because sleep, for the people that I think most of the group, what I do see as an issue. So therefore, we will specifically talk a little bit on the sleep and the fertility aspect. And what are the natural methods that we can improve in terms of resetting the circadian rhythm if it's already disrupted. And then at the end, tip of the day, and then followed by the Q&A. Okay? So that's our flow for the day. But before that, let's see how many of you actually know about circadian rhythm and follow certain rituals to keep the circadian rhythm in cycle. Can you chat in? Because this is a smaller group, right? Let's just be interactive. So if you practice, if you know about it, can you type it in your chat box? How many of you actually following it? As I said, this is very, 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 very important. You will see that in the going forward, what are the different research topics. So you guys can type while I'm going on. It's a little bit of the history. Let's quickly go over. Okay. In 1900, so right? What was the life expectancy? It was around 47 years or so. And most of the disease that was causing the fatality was the infectious diseases. And later on, it was found what are the ways that can be taken care. In many cases, after the child was born, at the one of the main cause of death was infectious disease. All they had to say is, "Wash your hand." Those three words actually that changed a lot, and the fatality rate actually got significantly reduced. And of course, a lot of research that was on the microbes, vaccines, antibiotics, all that came. It has its plus and minus. Just for this discussion purpose, let's just compare the story. In 2017, when the Nobel Prize was received, what was the life expectancy? It was around 79 years. And what are the main diseases, causes of the death, right? It's actually chronic diseases. And what are the root cause of those? Mostly it is the lifestyle diseases. Your what is heart attack is your primary cause, and cancer, heart attack. And your fourth one is diabetes. Your third is basically iatrogenic death and all such, right? So what is the most diseases that you will see across the chronic diseases? And what can we do about it? The cure? It's actually none. If you ask her, because it is the lifestyle diseases. It is not that you will get a pill and that also everything will be reset, right? It is not. It takes its own time to disrupt. It takes its own time to evolve. So what happens? Unless you take care of your lifestyle, right, you will continue to suffer chronic diseases. And this happens to very, very young kids, to the old age people. I see across the lifespan. Okay. So if we want to improve the longevity, right, let's improve your own productivity, the way you live in terms of your activity, not feeling fatigue, you're not having a brain fog. What can you do? Can you do something about it? You can. Okay, what can you do about it? Let's look at one parameter. We all are actually born with that. It's in our DNA. It's actually pre-programmed. When we are born with it, we are pre-programmed with it. It's nothing but actually called the circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm, what it does, it gives a timetable. Remember one more time. Listen to it. Okay. So let's see, as we were talking about, right? Can you all hear me okay now and see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. So what happens? So as I said, right, the longevity code is actually exists within us. We are actually programmed when we were born. So what is happening? It's basically, it gives a timetable, the tracker of all of our internal organs. That is what it is. And as the research continued, right, where do they find it? Where it is located? It is actually located in our brain. Where it is in the brain? Near to the hypothalamus gland. Okay. So these are our eyes. When we see the light, right, the optic nerve, which actually senses the light, where it is crossing, just above that, actually, is where the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, what we call it in short form, that is what is existing. And that is the master circadian clock. That is actually is the master circadian clock within our body, and we all are born with that. Okay, if there is something got disrupted, then a lot of diseases starts. We will learn about it. So just for right now, what you remember, the light it's sensing, because if you look at the evolutionary path, right, during daytime the sunlight was the primary exposure, and in the night we all people used to go to sleep when there was no electricity time. And second response was what? Food. During daytime they will eat, in the night everything will be shutting down. So those were the two primary receptors to the SCN. For right now, let's look from the light perspective. That's why every session we keep saying, get exposed to sunlight or the natural light at least. So light plays a fundamental role. When in the morning the light actually, if the SCN senses the light, what happens? Then the natural life cycle starts. In the morning, the cortisol level will rise up and it will increase your alertness. Right? Let's look into that little bit. So before that SCN was discovered that it was exist. So it was in 1972. If you look at the research, right? 1972, that is where it was found out that actually body's master clock is actually lies within the SCN. And then many other research that actually found out in 2017. What happened? There was in three research group actually, Michael Roberts and Jeffrey Hall, Michael Young, right? These are the three researchers. What they actually said the Nobel Prize focused on body's internal clock. Remember the importance of it, right? Why do you think they got a Nobel Prize? Because when I talk about internal clock to some of them, what is the importance? They take it so lightly. It is definitely not this topic that we should take it lightly. It is our body's internal clock. And what happens? It regulates multiple activities, starting with our cells, right? Each cell, because it is actually, the research was focused mainly on the genetic mechanism, but if I go through that route, it will be longer, very long presentation. So what happens? Certain genes, they senses the light and triggers. There's a certain proteins which triggers. And what happens? So the circadian rhythm, what they found out, it is actually the circadian rhythm exists in genes, in cells of our organs, different tissues and different organs, right? If it exists in cell, so it is not that it exists only one organ, one cell, right? It is not that. It across. So genes, cells, tissues, and organs. That is what we are made of, right? If the circadian rhythm is regulating that, that means they are controlling the entire of us, right? So how do we actually has an impact on day-to-day function? So the functions of circadian rhythm is basically takes care of mitochondrial structure and function. So the mitochondria is something that in one of the talk I gave a detailed aspect of it. What is the energy code, right, for our body, and how can you maintain? How can you still have an energy like the young kids, babies, which is possible as long as you maintain certain routine and lifestyle. Cellular redox, right? Detoxification. Today's world, it is key. We are surrounded by lot of toxins and many other. And key are actually basically immunofunctions and intercellular signaling. Let's take that way, and nutrient management. Because even if you eat certain things, but you are still being deprived of certain nutrients because maybe your circadian rhythm is not in place. Okay. And this is basically studied by different science groups. I have taken the research from there. And circadian rhythm from day and night cycle perspective, right? What happens? Your optic nerves, your eyes, senses the light, sends to the SCN, and then from there, when it extends the, that there's a bright daylight, it activates actually melanocortin. Okay, so that is actually kind of a protein which does multiple functions in the body, basically the blue light, and it synchronizes with the brain because your brain clock and raises the alertness. How? Because your cortisol levels goes very high, and then it reduces the depression. That's raises the alertness because so that you can do your day-to-day activities during the daytime. And in the evening, when the actual light shuts down, so again your optic nerve does not sense that light. So less sensitive to your candle light or moonlight, right? Moonlight, let's take for this discussion. So it is less sensitive to that. So what happens? That actually slowly releases your sleep hormone melatonin that rises at night and improves your sleep. Sleep is key for any kind of, because sleep is basically your restorative, right? All your cells, whatever was damaged, all your DNA, everything that got damaged, right? It does not happen even that day. Eventually, when it gets damaged, that is actually a restorative mechanism. For today's discussion, let's say if you take one organ, right, your liver, which is a chemical factory of your body. So there are there are so many chemicals. It gets detoxified. The peak time is 11 to 3. So you must be sleep by 10:30, so that liver can do the job between 11 to 3. So we talked one entire session only on the sleep. Okay. So the cortisol level, if you look at the peak hour, right, as soon as you wake up, it is around, as you wake up 6 o'clock, it's around 8 o'clock, it goes high. As I said, the reason for that is you need to be alert to do your day-to-day activities. And entire day, what happens? If your insulin secretion starts right after that, then in naturopathy they will say that that is also elimination and assimilation time, and then you should slowly start having your lunch. And when you will happen, and if you look at from the hormone perspective, right, your testosterone and your other, if you look at from the melatonin hormone, so many of the hormones, they do not get released unless the peak time happens. So if you miss that period, right, your hormone reset also needs to be reset because your hormone cycle got completely deregulated, right? It is not that got completely imbalanced. And what happens? Your muscular strength, especially your cardiovascular strength, right? That also changes, and your lipid level that changes. So this is article is very deeply they talk about in the Nature Medicine. That's from the Nature article. What it basically takes in one message is, here you will be, unless you maintain a time cycle, right, your body's internal clock aligned with your sunlight day clock, all your organs, all your functional systems, all your hormonal balance will not be appropriate. It will not work out fine. But what happens? Does it happen in one day? Probably not. You would think, oh, I sleep every day around 10, 11. Once in a while, only in the weekend, I do not sleep. No, that will not even help. The research has been shown that even if you delay your sleep by 3 hours, right, between 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. window, especially after 3 a.m. if you take, if you do not sleep for 3 hours, in 50 days a year, 50 days a year, for example, that will come down to approximately a day in a week. So even if you miss one day of that time, of 3 days sleep, 3 hours of sleep per week in that peak time, what will happen? That's enough. That's enough actually to disrupt your circadian rhythm. Did everyone got that? So you would think that one day is not enough a week, but that's more than enough to disrupt, and it has been scientifically proved, okay, to disrupt your circadian rhythm. So there's a very nice study they did, with the mice. They did what they focused, of course, many a type of studies, but for the discussion perspective, they did actually random eating. Whenever they got up, they ate. Whenever they slept, whenever everything was uncontrolled, okay, they did random eating. And this one, they did a time restricted eating. Group B, they did a time restricted eating, and with the same calories, same food, okay. The food is but there between 8 to 12 hours of window. They did different study with different carbohydrate, different protein, different fat, etc. All the detailed study has been taken separately. from this just calorie intake perspective, they did the same with a group A and group B without any time restriction window. So the group A found it actually highly obese, diabetic, high cholesterol, fatty liver, heart disease, inflammation, imbalanced hormones, poor motor control, gut disease, poor sleep, everything was completely out of the balance, right? Whereas these ones, even though they ate same food in a timely manner, they were healthy. Can you see the difference? So if you take here an example, there is a circadian misalignment happens for various reasons, environmental, your light and your food not eating, those are the two primary, but your behavioral issues also comes because a lot of people work in the shift, which should not be, but therefore right now there is a lot of government intervention happening that you can work only shift duty or night duty up to a certain window. So a lot of things also the initiative is started because once they realize the effect of this circadian rhythm and especially after from 2017. Okay, so it starts affecting the molecular level, tissue level, organism level. So when it happens, either because of your environmental or behavioral, all this kind of diseases that forms. And there is a literature that clearly saying, starting from your fibrosis and inflammation, etc., right, aging. And if you look at another study, they did the circadian regulation with poor sleep cycle and improved sleep cycle. And how did it have an impact on the consequence was on the sleep, metabolism. The metabolism was very, very poor. Nowadays, a lot of people come to me. They say that I am putting on weight. But I am not eating any unhealthy food. But they are forgetting that the circadian rhythm is not taken care. They don't sleep on time. That's very clearly I'm seeing that trend. So what happens? It's obesity. In type 2 diabetes, that's it's becoming every house, every another house that we have type 2 diabetes, especially in India. And your gut is actually what you see in the across people. Everybody comes first. I say, okay, you said reset your gut, then we will look into the other problem. Because as I said, right, you remember our talk that 90% of the disease can be rooted to the actually gut issue. If your gut is fixed, 90% of the diseases can be taken care of, including the circadian rhythm, right? When you are taking care of the gut issue, that means you are automatically taking care of your circadian rhythm. So these are some of more research article. What shows is basically your cardiac issues, your longevity issues, your productivity issues. So main of the majority cases, what is been seen, sleep disorder, mental health disorder, your depression, anxiety, your brain fog, etc., obesity, cardiovascular disease becoming definitely very prevalent, diabetes, gastro-related issues, cancer prevalently. There is a lot of research that is going on using circadian medicine to improve the cancer, cancer cells. Especially during chemotherapy, they follow cognitive functions and immune system. Immunity is key. I am treating a lot of people. Group से exit कर दिया. Minimum खुद वो सही है. I'm treating a lot of people with allergy issues, and the main reason is they're eating a lot of processed foods. But if your circadian rhythm is disrupted, right, your immunity will never will work out, even if whatever you do about it. Okay, because your cells are not functioning properly, your organs is not functioning properly. How do you expect your immunity will be managed, right? That is not the case. So here I'm just briefing few of the diseases, but if you look down, right, look at out here. This is by actually Dr. Ponda's research group from California. Here he has talked about the disease from babies to children to teenagers to adults to middle age to older adults. The diseases are just, you can keep on naming. I just take the slide because at least it was readable. I hope some of you can probably, when you see this slide, you are probably able to connect to it, right? Oh, I have this. Is it really due to the circadian rhythm? Or is it due to the gut issue? Whatever you think, right? Your fertility, your rheumatoid arthritis, can be anything, right? That will have an impact because your circadian rhythm is not right. This is an Ayurveda clock, right? Some of you who are already seeing, been attending my group, so you might be seeing, right? During noon and dusk, and night and dawn, morning to night, what are the ways our body is actually responding to? What is we are governed by? What to eat, and how does it an impact on our behavior? For example, if you see, right, dawn, okay, from morning, let's say, you should exercise, eat lightly. Elimination is the key. Elimination is the key, right? And if you gather the energy, right, because your cortisol level high, alertness is high, you know, whether you take an Ayurveda clock or whether you take a modern circadian rhythm clock that has been studied by scientists, right? More or less, they will talk about same thing, except the morning eating breakfast time here and there. Okay. And of course, noon time, your sun is at your peak, at its peak, and you must have the heaviest meal and high metabolism during that time. Your communication, if you're doing something, you know, extraordinary, that is the time that you should focus on. Communication is high, socialization is high. And then after dusk, right, and towards the night, you should prepare yourself for sleep. Okay. And when you are sleeping in the night, what happens? Your subconscious mind is active. That is when we are harnessed to write our affirmations, etc., and listen to it. And then your elimination should begin after 4, because 5 to 7 a.m. is the large intestine window. So more or less, what they say is, should get up in the morning. You should go back to sleep as soon as the sunset happens. Right? You should start preparing yourself. Switch off all the lights, etc. So this is the circadian rhythm and the melatonin they talked about. What it says is, unless you have a good quality sleep, right, you will not be functional throughout the day. And it is a cascading effect. And even we keep on saying, right, no, today we had a guest, we kept talking, or we had a late dinner, and I'm not feeling good, I'm tired. Because your body never had a chance to reset itself. Sleep is very, 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 very fundamental for resetting yourself. Okay. And then circadian rhythm, another article it says, you know, when it is dark, that is only when your melatonin will generate. But if you keep on turning on the lights and go to sleep exactly at 10 o'clock, you might not get sleep because your melatonin is not ready yet released. You know, from 9 p.m. onwards, the melatonin starts accumulating, right? It is not accumulated enough, so you cannot go to sleep. So timing is everything, and at the same time, lighting is everything. So evening time onwards, you put candle lights or yellow light, white light definitely off, and screen time should be avoided. Unless you do that, right, your circadian rhythm will not be in it. Because the timetable that it keeps, because it is off, it does not recognize. So it does not get into the next action. So therefore, everything, the cascading effect is that everything gets affected. And here is one visual representation, right? Circadian rhythm, when you follow, in the morning time you get up, right? Your daytime you are more alert. And in the night time, you went back to sleep. Okay. And all your cells got rejuvenated, relaxed, whatever the damage that had happened was taken care in the night. Okay. And when you disrupted circadian rhythm, that is on your right side, what happens? Brain fog. Instead of you being alert, you are not actually alert. You cannot think clearly. Your ideas, whether it is coming or whether you are activate doing anything, right? You will have a lot of brain fog. You cannot think clearly. You will have a lot of fatigue, tiredness. So your energy actually shifts. So as I talked about the mitochondria, right? Whether it goes to saving mode, battery mode, or it goes to just, defense mode. So it keeps on defense mode. Then you do not have any money left for your own expense, right? Similarly, you do not have any energy for yourself. So, and in the night, you will not have a good quality sleep. It can go on like a chicken and egg story. You do not sleep in the night, so in day gets affected. Because your day gets affected, you're not having a good night's sleep. So you must make sure in which situation, in what kind of a situation you would like to be, right? We all are born as a human beings, right? We have enough human potential, but we hardly use it. Hardly less than 2% of actually what we use. Do you want to live your life like that? But do you want a joyful, sustainable life, but utilizing your full potential, right? Even doing less. If you follow circadian rhythm, you might have to do actually less work because your brain will be active. your all your organs, your gut is so active that even if you eat this much, you will be still feel energetic. Your nutrients, you will not have probably deficiency in nutrients. Your hormones will be balanced, right? Everything else will be taken care. Then there is another, this one is circadian and fertility. Using circadian rhythm, right? They measure the core body temperature, right? Because your body temperature changes throughout the day. So even if it changes, it's only 2 degrees from day and night, but still that is good enough as an indicator. So they study connected with circadian rhythm to improve fertility and pregnancy planning, right? So what was happening? People who were doing the shift work and who were not actually sleeping well and whose body temperature was not right as it should be, right? Basically, they were not in sync with the circadian rhythm. The timetable was completely off. So what was happening? They were either having a miscarriage or they were having ovulatory dysfunctions. Lot of could be from the PCOS cases like that. PCOS is one best example of not following the circadian rhythm. And they will say that, I have been following, but if you go deeper and deeper, ask many questions, then they say, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. At a high level, you might think you are following, but actually when you go deeper, there are a lot of myths. And then what happens? Your actually sleep cycle is shortened. What did I say previously? When your sleep cycle is actually shortened, even by 3 hours, right? That means all your organ is not getting to repair. And what happens? That completely will disrupt your entire circadian rhythm, therefore disrupt your entire organ of your, means entire yourself. So this is clearly, the data clearly says, your circadian rhythm needs to be fixed to be hormonal balanced and to be fertile. Unless it is fixed, your pregnancy will not last longer. Even if it is starting, there will be lot of issues down the line. There is another one. It talked about disruption of circadian rhythm, a crucial factor in the etiology of infertility, right? Here it talks about different hormones. Because what happens, as I talked about that, your light and food are the two main sensors. If you take about that, right, if you, when in the night you get slept off, your melatonin gets released. People with a lot of issues, if they take melatonin as a supplement, I know a lot of people who are taking melatonin as a supplement, it is definitely helping them because it helps to some extent to the managing the circadian rhythm. Okay, so the melatonin, you might know if you're trying for 3 months, 3 years, you do not have so much of time. You must take some supplements which will help, but in natural way you must try. But if everything is off, you cannot actually make it work, right? So if your only sleep is for XYZ reason is not working out, right? Either you are disturbed or something happens, etc. Then something can be done about it. So if your melatonin is fixed, either through natural way or artificial way, then your sleep gets improved and your fertility is significantly improved. The chances of conceiving is significantly improved. Okay, and then we understood what causes that, what is actually the circadian rhythm. It's basically our master internal clock that is stays in hypothalamus, but the gateway is our eyes. Okay, eyes are the powerful organs. So which monitors our day and night cycle and of course food also. So based on all this, once the discovery was on actually gene, what we're actually looking into the circadian, following the circadian rhythm. So the genes and the cells, your tissues, organs, right? All of them has an internal circadian rhythm, internal clock within them. That is what is in a nutshell. What is the Nobel Prize the discovery from those from 2017 Nobel Prize winners. Okay, so let's understand. Okay, these are the problem. These are the ways. This is what we basically on a nutshell we understood. Then how can we tweak, right, for our well-being? You can boost natural light to uplift, your mood and improve sleep. Meal limiting, for that I will talk about, and then consistent sleep routines, daily physical activities. We will talk all of this slowly and slowly. And in the in the medicine, circadian medicine, what they do is using this. They are following to improve lot of medicinal issues, lot of medical conditions, diseases. One is the light therapy. They can modulate the light therapy depending on your own personal situation. chronotherapy, right? At what time you give the medicines? Because whether you have taken recently, there is a lot of research. Whether you are taking this for BP medicine, your diabetes medicine, or multivitamins, right? Anything that you are taking, what time of the day you are taking, or today you are taking one time, tomorrow you are taking another time. That is a significant impact. And so what they do is they follow certain things in certain at certain moments to improve the efficacy of that drug. Okay. And then third part, what they do is, for example, for cancer cells, right? What they do, they find a certain window where your negative effect. What are the side effects of the chemotherapy, right? All the hair loss, your entire organ is feeling too weak and all, right? By following this chronotherapy, they are able to actually reduce the side effect from the chemo. At the same time, improve the efficacy of those chemotherapy. Okay, and similarly, efficacy of the drug. So there is a lot of now scientific intervention is going on following this circadian medicine. And these are few strategies how they follow the circadian medicine. Sleep hygiene is key. Behavioral interventions, right? As you talk, getting up in the morning, not sleeping till late, and then also not eating a lot of processed food and eating in that window. And then third thing is third, many more things are there. Your how to use your screen, etc., and your work schedule, right? Setting yourself in later than late work. And diet and nutrition always plays a role. We'll talk a little bit in terms of the time restricted eating and also eating natural food. So if you look at it, this is the article that has been published and it is 2019. It's not very recent, but recent means it's 4 years back, 5 years. It says actually the chronobiology, as I talked about, right? The way you give the medicine in terms of the timing. So that could be the future of the medicine. Can you understand? You might think, oh, this is so little circadian rhythm, and under the circadian rhythm, chronobiology. Like at what time you do what, at what time you eat, at what time you sleep. The chronobiology is basically in terms of your timing. That itself could be the future of medicine. Because nowadays a lot of people are trying the alternative medicines, right? Because they have also understood the disease. As I showed the one of the first slide, right? 2017. What's your major diseases? It's basically chronic diseases. What is actually limiting your longevity? And as a human being, you improve your potential, your productivity, right? So what is the solution? It's not just eating a pill. It's actually what you do throughout the day in terms of your timing and what time you do. So that could be the future of medicine. So the guys who are out here, just make sure that whatever you do now, be mindful. Write a journal, right? That what time you do and maintain a schedule and try to follow that same schedule every day. And same schedule, whether you are doing right thing or wrong thing, that actually you need expert advice on that. Similarly, there is a lot of article that talks of finally the arrival of circadian medicine, because people were not recognizing it. But once they started recognizing it and started applying it, even in the mainstream, right, on the medicine aspect, people are seeing a lot of benefit. It is not just on the natural health side people were benefiting. They were already always suggesting, they were already prescribing, they were already getting benefited. But in this case, what was happening? There were more benefit even in the mainstream, and they consider circadian medicine as one of the stream, right, into their mainstream. And another one is, of course, for aging. How can you actually restrict, right, your age factor? This is another nice article, but the highlight of this article is, circadian disruption is offered mainly for the aged people and sleep. That is based on the study, but that is not true entirely, because they are saying often, but not all the time, right? It's of course observed in the young adults, teenagers, because they hardly sleep on time. Then boosting the clock functions could help in sleep disorders and also anti-aging properties. Many anti-aging compounds interact with the circadian clock compounds. That is the highlight, right? Many anti-aging compounds that people use, eat, drink, sleep, and put the effects with your circadian clock compounds. So if they are not working in synchronicity, right, they are not working as a friend, it will not work out. So to improve the anti-aging, all the therapies, what they do, they work along with the circadian clock. Okay. And then molecular targets of this, they actually observed that follow 24-hour rhythms. So it is not that, you do today, something will happen. So they also follow 24-hour rhythm. So that means not only your sunrise, sunset is 24-hour cycle, all these molecules that you inject into, that also have seen the way it interacts with, also follows the 24-hour rhythm cycle. So then if we do not utilize that, right, for your well-being, how will you actually improve your recovery, right? Whatever your target is. And the dosing time of the medicines can influence their therapeutic efficiency. This efficacy is definitely affects by the what time you have actually given the dose of that medicine. Another one, it's a critical strategy for cardiac care. They have doing a lot, started. Circadian medicine, basically, as you saw, right, first 1 and 2, circadian, your heart attack and cancer, right? These are the one. But so how can they help people, right, not going through that? So when a lot of people are taking medications, but doctors are not able to do so much further because whatever was to done, they have already doing it. But now lot of research is focused on how they are doing. It's not only what, but it's the how piece. So that is when the circadian medicine comes into the picture, doing certain methods, whether your light therapy or your timing, etc. That's when they are doing quite a lot for the cardiac care. Okay. And this is another one. It's a visionary article. Basically, what it talks about is, time teller of timing health, right? As we told, circadian rhythm is nothing but our timekeeper, internal clock of our body. The potential of circadian medicine to improve performance, prevent, and optimize is limitless. Basically, you heard me right. It's a limitless. I showed you one slide, right? Basically, what happens when your circadian rhythm is not right? Everything changes in terms of lot of chronic diseases issues, starting from baby to old age. So this gives a lot of potential, improving in our life. So it's basically clocking the drug, and that means what you can do, what time you are giving, and the drugging the clock. That means, as I showed, right, some of the molecules, they function in 24-hour cycle, right? So when you are actually that you are monitoring because you know that your liver is functioning at that organ, so you can give the medications accordingly. So one is clocking the drug, that means what time you give. Second is based on your organ clock, that also you can give. Organ clock, many other clock comes into the picture. And then secondly, training the clock, right? Maintain the synchronicity from environment, like basically simplest way is your sunrise to sunset. So now we learned different aspects of circadian rhythm. When it is disrupted, we know it is more or less disrupted in many cases. So how can we reset it? First thing is sunlight, heliotherapy. Okay. We call it is a sunshine hormone. It is no more only vitamin D3. It is a vitamin hormone. It's a D is also a hormone. It's a game changer for your health. More and research are coming. So morning time, or you get exposed to sunlight or natural light. If you are not getting sunlight, it is a key. How much emphasis I can give on the Nobel Prize talk will not be, will be benefited unless you follow this simple method. Probably you already know about it, right? So choose your time. Morning is extremely important, but if you're not getting morning, even in the afternoon sessions, right? Just exposed to sunlight. And how much time? As soon as you start to feel the body warmth, that's what my teacher has told. And that's what many research, even if exposed for 10-15 minutes, good enough. And, then what you do, but make sure that you hydrate. And if it's affecting, you are getting allergy and certain things happening, you must seek the professional guidance for this. This is actually, I took it from a blog. I liked it. It says, what are the things that sunlight can do? The sun, it's a G2V star, right? It is, the temperature is what? Around 5,500 degrees Celsius. And so much of sunlight, so much of this light, and we keep on, completely not noticing it, right? Sunrise happens, sunset happens, we do not even pay attention to it. But without the sun, we will not even live in this, we will not even have this life. Unless this life exists, we cannot think about either your family or your job, or this you have to do, that you have to do, your money, your vacation, etc., etc., right? Nothing will exist unless you exist, and you exist because there is sunlight. So you make sure that, that's why in naturopathy there is a lot of prayer, sun salutation, etc., etc. Many more rituals are there. So make sure that you get exposed to 10-15 minutes at least, because it will affect type 2 diabetes, vitamin D deficiency, your immunity will be boosted, your cancer risk will be reduced. I'm reading because it will, so that it will be in your memory. Something will register. Your blood pressure will be reduced, helps in weight loss, improves the mood, that is very primary for many of us, improves sleep. Alzheimer's symptoms will be improved. Your skin disorder, right? That is something that now there's a lot of allergic, especially people say from food, but it's not necessarily all the time from food. And bone health, your depression, your eye health in the morning, but this you should do only in the morning as soon as sun rises. If you gaze, that is called sun gazing. But there's a lot of procedure to do, but it has to be as soon as the sun rises, not later on, otherwise it will impact. But when you do sun gazing as soon as the sun rises or at the end of the sunset, that will actually improve your eyesight, improve eye health, brain functions, and many other disorders. So can we all make sure that we, at least spend few minutes in the sunlight, or if you do not get a sunlight, depending on where you are, at least with the natural light. Can you type yes in the chat box? I hope you are, in front of the system and at least chat, writing some messages that yes, we will be exposed to sunlight, or okay, I see some message coming up. Thank you. Okay, thanks guys. Thank you. Then the time restricted in eating, right? Another key parameter for maintaining circadian rhythm. So I talked about the mice study, right? That was done by a group, very systematic study. They changed every parameter they could have thought about. So what it said is, if you follow a time, that this is the only time you eat. I know many of my friends who follow as per the Sadhguru. They will eat in 8-hour window. The remaining 16 hour, it's like an intermittent fasting. Okay. Similarly, whoever you follow, whatever you are, if you follow the time restricted eating, it is very easy to follow. It's only conscious planning is required. So if you follow, you will be able to actually get it in terms of managing your circadian rhythm. So what you can do, either you eat, maybe for example, 10 hours window, right? You can eat in the morning 9 o'clock, and finish your dinner by 7. So it is actually 10-hour window. In this 10-hour window only you will eat. Before 9 o'clock, no eating, unless you know something. I do not know your personal situation. I'm talking here in general. And after 7, you must stop eating, because anyway your digestion system is not functioning that good. So that will affect your lot of issues, gut issues. One, you talked about sunlight. Second one is basically your intermittent fasting type. You're eating in restricted time zone, and then improving quality sleep, right? These are the few of the way people would say they know, but they are not doing it for XYZ reason. And some of the things actually what I will highlight is maintaining a sleep schedule for sure. And your morning sunlight exposure will actually help you for sleeping in the night. So you make sure you sleep well, you expose yourself well in the morning. Okay. And then if you have certain issues with the sleep, you can start with some melatonin rich foods to facilitate, right? If you need certain help, you can take certain dietary help, and magnesium and calcium is also plays a very good role. And if you have a lot of stress, then you can take a little bit of ashwagandha and brahmi, but very, very little, because that will impact on kidney. So you must take it with cautious. And then creating a sleep-conducing environment, darker. Anybody planning for fertility, planning for baby, must use a dark curtain. Okay, dark curtain is a must. So you should use the dark curtain to sleep, because that way only your melatonin generation is good and your sleep is very good. In circadian rhythm, it's extremely good if you follow these routines. Okay. And then avoiding stimulants like after tea, coffee, anyway you should not take. But if you are taking, then after 2, you should not take it at all. Limiting screen time, that is nowadays anyway, these blue lights screen are coming. And but still, you make sure you avoid the screen time, because that is a stimulant, right? The content is a stimulant, may not be the screen. And relaxation to any breathing technique, I keep on saying Anulam Vilom, even if you do for 2 minutes, it's a big help. And regular exercise, stress management. If you are not able to sleep for very, very long time, you must take a professional help, because it will impact all your other organs, other body parts, eventually you. I mean, the list can go on and on. You must make sure that you sleep well. Here is some of the Chinese clock I strongly follow. Basically, it what tells you is now at what time, what organ is in the peak level. You were talking about the drug efficacy, right? Similarly, here organ efficacy is clearly there. If you look at the window here, right, 5 to 7 a.m., what should you do? That's your large intestine, right? It helps you for the bowel movement. Many people who do not get up after 7, they have a lot of constipation issue. But even if you are getting up 5 to 7 a.m., but if your diet is not right, your constipation issue will be there. And then many other diseases starts from there. In 7 to 9, your breakfast, and walk, digestion issues and all that, digestion part process will start. But you must wait as late as possible, because we are following also the combining the methods, right? It's later is better towards 9 o'clock. 9 to 11, you work best concentrations. 11 and around 2 to 3, right? That is the time. Then 11 to 1, you should eat main meal of the day, right? That's because your sun is at peak, your digestion process, your metabolism is good. And then 1 to 3, you take a short nap, not recommended, but people take a power nap, not a sleep, okay? It's only power nap, 10-15 minutes. 3 to 5, work or study again. Then 5 to 7 p.m., exercise. I would strongly recommend that for the people who are not getting sleep, exercise is not recommended in the night. It is recommended in the morning. Okay. But based on the circadian rhythm, exercise helps to a certain extent, but that has to be in a personalized situation. Okay. Otherwise, you must do exercise in the morning. And then follow the routine, right? By 9 to 11, you must be in the sleep. So what is the potential of circadian rhythm, right? We understood what it is, what causes the disruption, what improves it, and if circadian rhythm is disrupted, what are the main diseases, and how it can be taken care. You learned that. So what is the potential of circadian rhythm? Is actually everything. It can help you to prevent any kind of diseases that come in. If your diseases are already there, it will help you to manage. If you manage your circadian rhythm. If you are already suffering, in a chronic situation, it will definitely help you to cure, because, but you have to, but there are a lot of disclaimer that needs to be looked onto. So, because the scientific research has moved so far ahead, they can tailor made for your personal need based on your internal circadian rhythm. Okay, the research has gone so far beyond. So you can follow and combining with our internal body clock, right? That's the organ clock. Organ clock is something I essentially follow, because it gives a lot of quick recovery. If some of the organs, especially kidney, who is having a lot of depression, who is having a lot of fear, anxiety, in the professional category, I see, then I tone their kidney. So toning the kidney, what time is the best time? If you follow, it's like a drug efficacy, what we learned about, right? That if you follow and manage both scientific and the natural method, right? East and West medicine together, it gives a powerful outcome. And I'm seeing it is helping with a lot of people with the fertility also. So as I said, circadian rhythm has a potential to prevent, to manage, to cure the diseases eventually, so that you can live a joyful life. As a human being, you can actually live to a full potential. Can you imagine you have a car? I keep giving this example. You have a car, but 1/3 of the life is only in the garage, and 2/3 of the time only you are able to utilize. Do you want any of those type of car with you? You want to own those type of car? Similarly, we sleep for 1/3 of our life because it's a part of the circadian rhythm. It needs to be in the restful situation so that all our organs get rejuvenated. But our body eventually, as a human being, need to live a full potential, right? Being joyful, being active, not having a brain fog issues, not having a fatigue issues, not having anxiety issues, but live a active, happy, joyful, content life. So definitely circadian rhythm is one of the path. So again, every time I follow certain tips of the day. So this is the color therapy for sleep. Some of you have used, but for the circadian rhythm, uh, I will give an additional one. Here this is for sleep. You can take a screenshot and you follow the standard outline practice for getting the circadian rhythm, right? If you are not able to follow a routine, but you want to start a routine, right? You will say, हर time सोचती रहती हूँ, but I am not able to start the routine. For that, what you can do, this is my right hand, index finger. Below the nails, put a green circle. Okay. That is what will help you to start a routine. That will help you to bring in the rhythm. So, as usual, we spend around 1 hour of the day. So 1 hour of the day, that is should be much more, that 1 hour should be invested wisely, more productively. So homework is morning sunlight exposure, make sure 10 hours of eating window, approximately 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and follow a good sleep routine. Okay. So that's it for today's session.